One of the biggest misunderstandings about love is believing that a man falls in love simply because he meets someone beautiful, intelligent, or attractive. Attraction can happen in a moment. Curiosity can happen in a conversation. Chemistry can appear almost instantly. But genuine love usually asks for something much deeper before it begins to grow. Before many men allow themselves to fall deeply in love, they first look for something they often struggle to describe. They look for emotional safety, not because they are weak, but because beneath confidence, many men carry fears they rarely speak about. They fear rejection. They fear being misunderstood. They fear opening their hearts only to have those feelings dismissed, criticized, or used against them later. Many have learned through experience or upbringing that vulnerability comes with risk. Perhaps they once trusted someone who broke that trust. Perhaps they expressed emotion and were told to be stronger. Perhaps they learned that hiding feelings felt safer than sharing them. So when they meet someone new, they don't immediately ask themselves, "Can I love her?" Without realizing it, they first ask themselves, "Is it safe to let my guard down?" That question changes everything, because a man may deeply admire a woman, yet still hesitate to become emotionally vulnerable if he believes he must constantly defend himself. Imagine trying to build a home while never feeling safe enough to remove your armor. You may enter the house, you may spend time there, but you'll never truly relax. Relationships work the same way. A heart that always feels threatened struggles to become fully open. This doesn't mean a woman is responsible for healing every fear a man carries. Every person is responsible for their own emotional growth. But healthy relationships create an environment where honesty is welcomed instead of punished. Think about the difference between being judged and being understood. When someone immediately criticizes every mistake, vulnerability becomes frightening. When every disagreement turns into humiliation, openness begins to disappear. When feelings are constantly dismissed, silence starts feeling safer than honesty. But when someone listens before judging, when they respond with patience instead of ridicule, when they create respect even during disagreement, something remarkable begins to happen. The walls slowly come down. Conversations become deeper. Trust begins replacing caution. And the man who once struggled to express emotion gradually starts revealing parts of himself that very few people have ever seen. This isn't because perfection suddenly appeared. It's because safety allowed authenticity to grow. And that's an important distinction. Real emotional safety doesn't mean there are never disagreements. It doesn't mean every opinion is shared. It doesn't mean difficult conversations disappear. It means both people know they can be honest without constantly fearing rejection or disrespect. That kind of environment allows love to develop naturally, because love grows where trust is protected. Remember this. Many people try to create love by increasing attraction. But lasting love is rarely sustained by attraction alone. It is sustained by emotional security, by knowing you can speak honestly. By knowing your imperfections won't immediately push the other person away. By knowing your heart will be handled with care instead of carelessness. When a man reaches the point where he no longer feels the need to hide behind emotional walls, something beautiful begins to happen. He stops protecting himself from love. He starts participating in it. And that is often the moment when admiration quietly transforms into something much deeper, stronger, and lasting. Because before many men truly fall in love, they first need to believe their heart is safe enough to be seen. One of the biggest myths about relationships is that excitement is the foundation of lasting love. People often believe that if a relationship feels intense every single day, it must be special. They chase butterflies, emotional highs, and constant surprises. While those feelings can make the beginning of a relationship unforgettable, they are not what keeps two people together for years. Because excitement may start a connection, but peace is what sustains it. Many men discover this only after experience teaches them the difference between attraction and fulfillment. In the early stages, excitement is easy. Everything is new. Every conversation feels interesting. Every message creates anticipation. Every date feels unforgettable. But eventually, life becomes ordinary. Work becomes stressful. Responsibilities increase. Unexpected challenges appear. And suddenly, the question changes. It's no longer, who gives me the biggest emotional rush? It becomes, who gives me peace when life becomes difficult? That answer often determines who stays. Many men don't secretly crave endless emotional drama. They crave a place where they can breathe, a relationship where they don't have to constantly defend themselves. A relationship where every conversation doesn't become a battle. A relationship where they feel understood instead of judged. Because the world already gives people enough pressure. There are deadlines, responsibilities, financial worries, family expectations, daily challenges that demand emotional energy. When a man comes home carrying all of that weight, the woman who brings calmness often becomes far more attractive than the woman who constantly creates emotional chaos. That doesn't mean he wants a relationship without passion. Passion matters, ladder matters, adventure matters. But none of those things can survive for long without emotional stability. Think about two different relationships. In one, every disagreement becomes an argument. Every misunderstanding turns into days of silence. Every mistake is remembered and brought up again. The relationship feels unpredictable. One day everything is wonderful. The next day everything feels uncertain. The emotions are intense, but so is the exhaustion. Now imagine another relationship. Problems still happen. No relationship is perfect. But both people communicate with respect. They listen before reacting. They solve problems together instead of trying to defeat each other. There is laughter, there is honesty, there is emotional safety. And when difficult moments arrive, they face them as partners instead of opponents. Which relationship do you think creates lasting love? The answer is almost always the one that creates peace. Because peace isn't boring. Peace is security. Peace is knowing you don't have to guess where you stand. Peace is trusting that disagreements won't threaten the entire relationship. Peace is feeling accepted even when life isn't perfect. And perhaps that's what many people misunderstand. They mistake emotional instability for passion. They believe constant uncertainty proves the relationship is exciting. But uncertainty creates anxiety, not intimacy. The strongest relationships are not built on emotional roller coasters. They're built on consistency, on kindness, on mutual respect, on the quiet confidence that both people are choosing each other every day. Remember this, a man may initially notice beauty. He may admire confidence. He may be drawn to excitement. But the woman he longs to build a life with is often the one whose presence feels like home, the one whose conversations leave him lighter instead of heavier, the one who creates understanding instead of unnecessary conflict, the one who makes ordinary days feel meaningful simply because they are shared together, because excitement captures attention for a moment, but peace captures the heart for a lifetime, and that's why lasting love is rarely built on constant excitement. It is built on the quiet comfort of finding someone whose presence makes life feel calmer, stronger, and more complete every single day. One of the deepest emotional needs many men have is something that is often misunderstood. People assume that men are driven only by admiration, attraction, or success. While those things may matter, there is another need that quietly shapes many of their relationships. They want to feel respected, not because they believe they are superior, not because they expect perfection, but because respect tells them that they are valued. Many people hear the word respect and immediately think it means agreeing with everything a man says or never challenging him. That isn't genuine respect. Real respect is mutual. It means listening without immediately dismissing the other person's perspective. It means speaking with kindness, even during disagreement. It means appreciating effort instead of taking it for granted. It means recognizing each other's humanity. When mutual respect exists, emotional closeness has room to grow. When it disappears, even love begins to struggle. Think about how trust develops. It isn't built through grand romantic gestures alone. It's built through everyday interactions. The way two people speak to each other after a long day, the way they handle misunderstandings, the way they respond when one person makes a mistake. Those ordinary moments quietly shape the entire relationship. For many men, feeling respected creates emotional safety. It gives them confidence to invest more deeply when they feel that their opinions matter, that their efforts are noticed, and that they are treated with dignity. They often become more willing to open their hearts. Not because respect replaces love, but because respect creates the environment where love can continue growing. The opposite is equally true. Imagine constantly feeling criticized. Every mistake becomes proof that you're not enough. Every conversation turns into blame. Every effort goes unnoticed because attention is focused only on what went wrong. Over time, even someone who genuinely cares may begin withdrawing emotionally, not because love disappeared overnight, but because constant criticism slowly convinces them that nothing they do will ever be enough. Of course, every relationship requires honest conversations. Respect does not mean avoiding difficult topics. It does not mean pretending problems don't exist. Healthy love allows people to disagree. It allows accountability. It encourages growth. But there is a profound difference between correcting someone with kindness and constantly making them feel inadequate. The strongest relationships understand that difference. They don't use insults to win arguments. They don't humiliate each other to prove a point. They don't tear each other down during moments of frustration. Instead, they protect each other's dignity, even when emotions are high. And that's a powerful form of love. Because when someone feels respected, they become more willing to communicate honestly. They become less defensive, more open, more trusting, more emotionally available. They stop feeling like they have to defend themselves and begin focusing on strengthening the relationship instead. Remember this, respect is never a one-way gift. It is something both people choose to give. A healthy relationship is not built on one person feeling important while the other feels invisible. It is built on two people who consistently value each other's thoughts, feelings, efforts, and individuality. When admiration is matched with respect, attraction begins transforming into genuine emotional attachment because people naturally move closer to those who make them feel seen instead of judged. And perhaps that is why so many lasting love stories begin with something much quieter than passion. They begin with two people who make each other feel valued every single day. And that's why mutual respect often becomes the silent foundation upon which lasting love is built. One of the greatest misconceptions about love is the belief that it happens in a single unforgettable moment. Movies often tell us that one glance changes everything, one conversation creates destiny, or one magical date guarantees forever. While those moments can be beautiful, real love usually follows a much quieter path. Attraction can happen instantly. Love almost never does, because attraction notices what the eyes can see. Love discovers what only time can reveal. A man may immediately recognize beauty. He may admire confidence. He may feel an undeniable connection during the first few conversations. But those feelings alone are not enough to build a lifetime together. Feelings may open the door. Consistency decides whether anyone stays inside. Think about meeting someone for the first time. You know very little about them. You don't know how they respond when life becomes stressful. You don't know how they handle disappointment. You don't know whether their kindness remains when they're tired. You don't know if their promises match their actions. Those answers cannot be discovered in one evening. They are revealed through time. That's why genuine love grows through repeated experiences. One honest conversation builds trust. One act of kindness creates comfort. One promise that is kept strengthens confidence. One difficult season faced together deepens commitment. None of those moments seem extraordinary by themselves, but together they slowly create something that attraction alone never could. This is why many lasting relationships are built during ordinary days, sharing morning coffee, laughing over something small, supporting each other after a difficult day, remembering birthdays, keeping simple promises, listening without interrupting, showing up when it would have been easier to stay away. These moments may not seem dramatic, but they quietly tell the heart, this person is dependable. And dependability is incredibly attractive because over time, reliability becomes more valuable than excitement. Many men don't suddenly wake up one morning deeply in love. Instead, they notice something changing little by little. They begin missing her voice. They look forward to sharing good news with her first. They trust her opinion. They admire her character. They realize life feels better when she's part of it. Love didn't appear in one dramatic moment. It was built through hundreds of ordinary moments that slowly became extraordinary together. Of course, no relationship grows without challenges. Misunderstandings happen, disagreements happen, expectations sometimes clash. But even those moments become part of the story because every problem solved with honesty increases trust. Every difficult conversation handled with respect strengthens the foundation. Every obstacle overcome together reminds both people that the relationship is worth protecting. That's how love matures, not by avoiding life's storms, but by surviving them together. Remembers this, anyone can create a powerful first impression. Anyone can be charming for a weekend. Anyone can say beautiful words during the exciting beginning. But lasting love asks a different question. Who are you after the excitement fades? Who are you when life becomes ordinary? Who are you when no one is trying to impress anyone anymore? That's where real love begins, because genuine love is not built on one unforgettable memory. It's built on countless ordinary choices that quietly say, I choose you again today. Day after day, conversation after conversation, season after season. And eventually, those ordinary moments become the extraordinary story of two people who didn't simply fall in love. They built it together. And that's why the deepest love is rarely created in one perfect moment, but in the countless everyday choices that turn trust into a lifelong connection. One of the deepest desires many men carry is not simply to be admired or even loved. It is to feel accepted. That may sound surprising because men often appear confident, independent, and emotionally composed. From the outside, it can seem as though they need very little reassurance. But beneath that image, many carry quiet fears that they rarely express. They wonder if they will still be valued after they fail. They wonder if someone will remain beside them when life becomes difficult. They wonder whether they are loved for who they are or only for what they can provide. Those questions often remain unspoken, not because they don't exist, but because many men have been taught that speaking about those fears makes them appear weak. So instead of asking for acceptance, they try to earn it. They work harder. They become more successful. They hide their struggles. They convince themselves that if they achieve enough, protect enough, or accomplish enough, then love will naturally follow. But genuine love doesn't grow because someone never struggles. It grows because two people learn to embrace each other through those struggles. Think about how exhausting it would be to believe you must perform every single day just to deserve affection. To feel that one mistake could completely change how someone sees you. To believe your value depends entirely on your success. Eventually, that pressure becomes heavier than the relationship itself. The strongest connections are different. They create space for honesty. A man can admit he's uncertain. He can acknowledge disappointment. He can reveal that he doesn't always have the answers. And instead of losing respect, he finds understanding. That kind of acceptance creates something incredibly powerful. It allows authenticity. Because when someone feels accepted, they no longer spend all their energy pretending to be perfect. They stop wearing emotional masks. They stop hiding every weakness. They begin trusting that they can be fully known without constantly fearing rejection. Of course, acceptance does not mean ignoring harmful behavior. It does not mean lowering healthy standards. It does not mean accepting dishonesty, disrespect, or a lack of responsibility. Healthy love still requires accountability. People should continue growing. They should apologize when they're wrong. They should learn from their mistakes. Acceptance is not the absence of growth. It is the absence of constant condemnation. There's a profound difference between saying, you made a mistake, and saying, you are the mistake. Healthy relationships understand that difference. They separate a person's value from a single failure. They encourage improvement without destroying confidence. And perhaps that's why acceptance becomes so healing. It reminds someone that they don't have to earn the right to be treated with dignity. Imagine a relationship where both people know they can speak honestly without immediately being judged, where difficult conversations lead to understanding instead of humiliation, where imperfections become opportunities for growth instead of reasons for rejection. That kind of environment changes people. It gives them courage to love more deeply, to communicate more openly, to trust more completely, because they no longer fear that being human will cost them the relationship. Remember this, a man may initially be attracted by beauty. He may admire intelligence. He may appreciate confidence. But lasting love often begins when he realizes he no longer has to pretend. When he discovers that someone values not only his strengths, but also understands his imperfections, without defining him by them. That doesn't make him careless. It makes him feel safe enough to become his most authentic self. And when two people give each other the freedom to be real instead of demanding perfection, love stops feeling like something that must constantly be earned and begins feeling like something that can truly be lived. And that is often the moment when acceptance quietly becomes the foundation of a love, strong enough to last a lifetime. The moment a man truly falls in love is often very different from what people imagine. It is not always the first time he sees her. It is not always after the perfect date or the most romantic conversation. Sometimes those moments begin the journey, but lasting love usually appears much later, when something inside him quietly changes. He stops protecting himself more than he protects the relationship. That is where love becomes real. In the beginning, many people enter relationships carrying invisible shields. They've been disappointed before they've been rejected. They've trusted the wrong people. They've watched relationships end in painful ways. So they promise themselves that next time they will be more careful, more guarded, more emotionally controlled. At first, that seems wise. Healthy caution has its place. Trust should grow over time. But if those walls never come down, love never has room to fully grow. Because love cannot thrive where fear makes every important decision. Many men spend months or even years trying to avoid being hurt. They avoid saying, "I miss you." They hesitate to express appreciation. They refuse to apologize first. They keep score during disagreements. They tell themselves they're protecting their heart. But in reality, they're often protecting themselves from the very closeness they long to experience. The irony is that love always requires a measure of courage. No one can guarantee that another person will never disappoint them. No one can promise that every relationship will last forever. Love has never come with absolute certainty. It has always required trust. Think about two people building a bridge from opposite sides of a river. If only one person keeps moving forward while the other refuses to take another step, the bridge is never completed. Relationships work the same way. Someone eventually has to risk being honest. Someone has to choose openness over fear. Someone has to believe that connection is worth the possibility of disappointment. That choice does not make a man weak. It reveals his emotional maturity. Real strength is not measured by how well someone hides their feelings. It is measured by their ability to express those feelings with honesty, wisdom, and respect. That means saying, "I appreciate you," before it's too late. It means saying, "I was wrong." Instead of allowing pride to create distance, it means saying, "I'm afraid of losing what we have," instead of pretending indifference. Those conversations may feel uncomfortable, but they also create the deepest forms of trust. And something remarkable begins to happen when both people stop treating love like a competition. There is no longer a need to win every disagreement, no longer a need to prove who cares less, no longer a need to keep emotional score. Instead, both people begin asking a better question. How can we make this relationship stronger? That simple shift transforms everything, because the relationship itself becomes more important than protecting individual pride. That is the difference between temporary attraction and lasting commitment. Temporary attraction asks, "What can I receive?" Lasting love asks, "What can we build together?" Remember this, a man does not truly fall in love the moment he feels attraction. He truly falls in love the moment he decides that honesty is more valuable than emotional self-protection, that trust is stronger than fear, and that building a future together matters more than guarding his ego. Because the greatest relationships are never created by two people who are fearless. They are created by two people who acknowledge their fears, yet choose openness, loyalty, and growth anyway. And when a man reaches the point where protecting the relationship becomes more important than protecting his pride, love is no longer just a feeling. It becomes a daily choice that has the power to last a lifetime.